Yeah, that's fine.
I'm a slow reader.
That's okay.
Excuse me.
I think it's a good book though.
You read this before?
I bought that for my friend Roger, who has read that before, and he liked it a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so just to recap, guys, you get full credit
Excuse me. Sorry.
just for coming up here and looking at the audience and talking. Okay? You get a little less credit if you come up here and talk to the audience like this.
That's perfect.
Okay? Just a little less. Okay? So that's really like great or pretty good is how I'm grading this. Now, that doesn't mean that you are going to end with this being great or pretty good. For instance, if you are out in the audience putting the finishing touches on your assignment, I can take points away. Like really the way you lose credit is by not being a respectful audience member. Okay? So, as we go through these, your project is done. Okay, and know that my expectations for how much you have to show after the time I've given you is even less than period 6 and period 7. So like if you had time to like read it and know the stuff, if it doesn't look perfect, I don't care, you guys. Okay, you got screwed with like the survey and like all the time stuff.
Why are you even doing it right now?
Everybody's got to take that survey.
I know, but why did I do it? Like, what's the reason for that?
Well, wasn't it like about AP testing? We're gonna get further behind, but we'll talk about it later. So Mateo, quick question.
If one of our group members is looking at the slides while he's talking, does that bring them over?
No.
Oh, I thought you said everything was graded in groups.
Well, you're graded in a group, like, because you're presenting in a group, but the way people present is different. Don't worry about it, Mateo. Okay. All right, so, I have this all set up, and my controversy group can come on up to get finished here. And we'll go from there. So everybody in the audience, if you don't want to lose credit, your phone should be away and your screen should be closed. So you can continue to give the controversy group the credit that they deserve.
So in 2016, there were 36 reported hate crimes in libraries due to this book being in them. And this was just reported crimes. There could have been more. And these hate crimes are often drawings and graffiti on the walls of libraries of racial epithets. Like that.
There were lots and lots of attempts to ban this, and here's just some of them, all the way from the 70s. There are a lot of attempts to ban from parents and people, like in middle school and high school libraries.
What were two of the reasons that the book was banned?
A, the book encouraged kids to smoke. B, the book contained the words the N-word, damn, and whore. The book had homosexual couple. The book had rape. Monica was in the book. Poor Monica. The book was published illegally. It's your class, you guys.
Just shout it out.
Bangladesh.
Nicely done. All right, super job, Grupo.
They don't have it.
Okay.
So why don't
But I learned how to use it along with That'd be great. All right, are there any volunteers to go next? Lizzie's group, head on up there. You just have to escape out of this screen. And then my agenda is the first tab.
Okay, the Great Depression.
The Great Depression started when the stock market crashed. This caused investors to stop buying or pull away people to buy less, and that also caused companies to produce less. It lasted from 1929 to 1939.
So basically what happens, so there's like a rapid expansion like in consumer buying products after World War I, and then shares were becoming valued more than they were actually worth. And something happened and many investors got spooked and million shares were sold, and many lost everything because the shares lost their values. And this was known as Black Tuesday. And then basically it caused a chain reaction, loss in funds, less production, less buyers. You had to fire workers, and then there's lots of debt.
The Depression was worldwide, but greatly affected the United States. Was the worst depression in world history. It affected all currencies and humans suffered. It caused economical ideas around the globe. $40 billion by the end of 1929.
Some of the effects it had on America. At the peak of like the worst time during the Great Depression, around 15 million people were unemployed, and from that unemployment, many schools had to close, neighborhood schools, so kids weren't getting educated. It was hard to get food because there's also a drought during that time, and yeah, crime rate went up, and families were not stable because they didn't have an income.
I was going to say, so 15 million people weren't employed at one point. Wasn't America's population at the time something like 100 million? So that meant like 15% were unemployed.
Hold on, Nick, let's let them finish, then we can ask some questions.
Our gross domestic product shrunk by 8.5% during the Great Depression, and banks didn't have money because they used because it was like in the stock market and all that, so they used people's deposits to invest in the stock market, and the stock market value went down by 90%. People's incomes dropped. Children were sent to orphanages because the families didn't have money to take care of them. And people thought it was like around the end of the American dream. And depositors lost around $140 billion.
Oh, question time. What caused the Great Depression? A, Wall Street shut down. B, a war started. C, the stock market crashed. Or D, the stock market disappeared.
All right, you guys, this was tremendous. This is such a hard thing to explain, okay? The stock market, we know the stock market, you recognize hearing about the stock market. Colton, can you put your phone away, please? But you have, and some of your parents might invest in the stock market, but businesses, a lot of their spending money comes from people just like us trying to make a buck off of that company. Okay, so if that company is doing well, the $6 that I may have bought a share for could become $12, and then hey, I doubled my money. They use it, and then I can pull it out, and I get my money back. Okay, but what was happening during this time is that things were becoming very inflated. So that meant that like the price of stuff was way higher than what it was worth, and people were getting paid more than they would have earned. There's a lot more to it. But that's kind of a simple way to sort of wrap your head around it. And so then the idea that the stock market, they're like, well, shoot, the bottom, the bottom fell out of the stock market. There's no money to rely on. The businesses have all spent the investments that people have made. And well, that really stinks. Okay, so so businesses can't afford to pay their employees anymore. Well, that really stinks because then they lay off a bunch of people. They're trying to earn money to like keep their family afloat. That's not happening. So they go to the banks where they say, okay, I've had a bank account here for my entire life. I have a big old savings that you guys have been saving for me. Well, the trick of the banks is we can't think of a bank like being like Scrooge McDuck style, like they're just swimming pools of money out back. Okay. They take your money and actually they invest, the bank invests in that money or invests that money in other stuff, mostly in the bank. So when people started like knocking on their door being like, I gave you $600, I should have my $600 or $6,000 or $60,000. The bank's like, we invested that in that stock market thing. And then like, so all that money's gone too. Okay. It's a lot more intricate than that. Economics is a hard thing to wrap your head around, but that's kind of like what ended up happening, which caused banks to be regulated by, you see on every check, FDIC, or on the back of your like credit card, FDIC. That's the insurance saying that like your money is insured now when you put it in a bank. But that didn't happen before 1929.
So the economic value was interpreted as like all IOUs.
Mm-hmm. It was all IOUs. It was all like, sure, thanks for your money. We owe you when you want to come back, because somebody else will give us their money and we'll have that cash on hand to give to you. And it was all supposed to work. And this had never happened before. Okay. Yeah.
It's interesting because like even before that there was mini Great Depressions, I guess. There's like a ton of money out of countries after World War I. Started printing money because they got so much benefit on blah money. And basically, if you make more money, it just makes it less valuable.
Right. And we lost a lot of people after World War I, and then the Dust Bowl happened. You may have learned about the Dust Bowl. So like crops in the middle of the country were all wiped out. Like it was just a really crappy time. But you guys did a really excellent job of explaining that. That's a tricky one to have. So nicely done. All right, brave volunteers, Nolan's group, head on up there. Notice how they did a really nice job, largely, of getting off of their slides and just telling us about it. It's far more engaging when you do that. So nicely done, guys. Just do it true or false.
Okay, so
exit out of that, and then you can open up from the hyperlink behind it.
How do you get out of this?
Escape.
Right, there we go.
So first tab all the way to the left.
This one? Present. Okay. Who wants to read the first slide? Not me. How about you do it? I'm gonna be awkward. I'm gonna be like, read the first slide. No.
wait, can we? 'Cause I don't know if what I just put in is still there. We might need to refresh it.
For what? Put something. I hope you took out the red round. Did we get rid of that? I hope so.
Go down. No, it's just refresh it.
Okay, it's refreshed, so
Yeah, cool.
unlike me right now. Okay. Let's go. I don't even know. I'm gonna be looking at it. Yeah, y'all are in the way.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as you have everyone's attention,
So we did Harper Lee. We just did research overall about her background, how she grew up, where she grew up, what her life was like before and after she wrote the book, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Mockingbird.
That's okay. It starts to seep into your psyche.
So Harper Lee was born in Monroeville, AL on April 28, 1926, and grew up with her 3 siblings in the small town. She passed away on February 19, 2016, in kindergarten. Harper Lee befriended a boy named Truman Struckfus Persons. During her high school years, she became interested in English literature along with newspaper club, where she chose to work on studies and became a member of Literary Honor Society. And her friend that she made in kindergarten was a lifelong friend for her whole life. Yes.
Yeah, that Truman Struckfus Persons became Truman Capote. That if you have, there's so many now literary references. I'll wing it. Okay? There are so many literary references to Breakfast at Tiffany's. This is a short book that Truman Capote wrote. He also wrote my absolutely favorite book of all time, In Cold Blood, which, oh my gosh, it's so good. Based on a real murder. Oh, Rocco.
So she grew up being made fun of and kind of picked on because she kind of dressed up as a tom girl, and she didn't really like wear dresses like or any of like the typical girly stuff in her generation. She would typically take care of her mother, who was thought to, it wasn't technically proven, but a lot of people assumed that she had bipolar disorder. And although she dealt with many struggles this time because women were being depressed, she decided to live and grow up near a small town, and it was thought because she could like think to herself and like understand what it was to grow up in a simple and quiet lifestyle.
Background knowledge on it, To Kill a Mockingbird. Although she went by Harper Lee for credit due to given to her books, her full name is Nellie Harper Lee. She partially owned her local newspaper and also wrote an article with Truman Capote in the New Yorker, which would eventually be published as in Cold Blood.
Okay, so she wrote the book To Kill a Mockingbird and Ghost at a Watchman, and then we're not really sure whether Ghost at a Watchman was actually supposed to be published because it was found by her lawyer on when she had like kind of like some older mental issues, or
she had Alzheimer's at the end of her life.
So yeah, and so they were like, we didn't really know if she wanted it to be published, but her lawyer said that she wanted it to be published, so they're like not really sure what.
The award Harper Lee received was the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in her book To Kill a Mockingbird. She also earned the Presidential Medal of Freedom and Goodreads Choice Awards Best Fiction, Quill Award for Audiobook, also the National Council on the Arts, Los Angeles Public Library Literary Award, and National Medal Awards.
So in high school, she became interested in English literature, and she went to the University of Alabama, where she worked as editor of the school paper. During the junior year of college, she actually switched to law school because her father was a lawyer, but she later told her parents that she didn't want to be a lawyer because she actually wanted to write.
She wasn't interested in law strictly, more like her opinion.
Themes Harper Lee wrote about. Harper Lee wrote about lots of different like themes for many different books. So Harper Lee wrote about themes including race, youth, justice, judgment, fear, woman, and femininity, family, compassion, and forgiveness, and many more. Some unique traits about Harper Lee. Harper Lee's personality was very upbeat and loving, and people say that her personality was inspiring to other people. And another really good trait about Harper Lee is that she didn't care about her appearance, and she mostly cared about her studies and like school and writing books. So.
Food question time. Okay, what class was Harper Lee interested in?
Nolan did this one. Nolan, was this what you had?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, nicely done. That was weird an ending, but I liked it. Okay, take a seat. Yeah, Harper Lee is a really interesting character in and of her own rights. She only published one book while she was alive. Hey guys, I want you to listen to this. She only published one book when she was alive. And it was the one that we're going to, or 900 students that are already reading it. And the rest of us will take samples out of it. It was published in 1963. And then she made a fortune and kind of retired to care for like life around Monroeville. And this intrigue that Lauren was explaining about her second novel, Go Set a Watchman, it's very widely believed that she never would have intended that book to ever be released. People were just trying to make a buck on her after she died. And it's very dark. It's the same characters that we're going to read about in To Kill a Mockingbird, but they are, it was her first draft of this novel. So it sets the story when Scout is coming home when she's in college, and her father is a much darker character. Well, Atticus, her father, is one of the heroes of the story. And he is right in the center of this moral tale that gets told about this black man who's accused of rape in the trial that's happening. And so being published and having it sold that this is the sequel to To Kill a Mockingbird, only to read that Atticus is now like this crotchety old racist guy. So many people named their kids Atticus, and now he's a crotchety old racist guy. It just didn't match up. So that is kind of an intrigue about making money off of the death of somebody, which is kind of sad. Yeah, Seth.
A person that was accused of rape, well, I wouldn't happen to be Emmett Till.
No, it wasn't. This the man in the story, his name is Tom Robinson. Okay, but inspired by Emmett Till, inspired by the Scottsboro trials. Let's hear about those next. Scottsboro trials, head on up there. Just like really nice segue. Yeah, I'm taking.
When does the story be changed? Because right now it's all mysterious about the Radley family. When does it because it changes in concept? Because right now it's all about suspense and mystery about the Radley's house and stuff. Mm-hmm. But will it change in the future to change? Not the Radleys. It's Radleys.
The Radleys. A lot of the first part is kind of setting up, setting up kind of the traditions of Mayhem. And then you'll see why, because they're so deep-seated in their beliefs in Mayhem, why the trial that happens in the middle section of the book. You'll probably start getting there in this next section. Which, by the way, 9 honor students, you may have noticed on the agenda with your homework, everybody's got to read 60 minutes over the weekend, but 9 honors kids, your homework, of those 60 minutes, you can be reading To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay.
And through chapter
Oh, she's
11
gonna
is
wait
gonna
till
be
you're
due on Tuesday. So chapter 11 in your study
Oh, I
guide.
just realized that that's all you get your guys'
Really
initials.
good.
Yeah.
Keep it up, Winter.
Yeah.
Good. Once you kind of get the flow of it, it'll just start coming.
You have to send me during
Advisory.
So I'm doing this one, right? That should be slide 4.
Crap, I thought I was doing that one.
Which one am I doing?
I messed everything
Oh, that's slide
up.
3. No, that's slide 3. You're fine. I was
Slide 5. What is slide 5?
No,
Slide
but
4 is what I'm doing.
2.
Yeah, so I'm doing. Wait.
Oh, I was doing that one.
Go back one.
Oh.
No, go back to
That
slide
one?
3. This one.
Are you doing that one or am I?
Yeah. It was a
Okay, so
very,
this is
I
4.
mean, like, think
3 is
about
here. This is
how
what Mario's doing. This is you.
long history is and how much
Yeah.
change, clearly not enough, but it's happened, I mean, for my grandparents' generation.
You have to bring it up.
Was a totally different perspective.
Yeah.
And thank goodness. I
Yours
live
is
in the
enough, I
21st
don't
century
think.
where There's still tons of change,
I-
but I totally agree.
You got
He just
freeze
confused
it.
the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Freeze it.
Well, no, we're not ready to present.
Hey guys, you gotta go.
Okay. Ready?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Present.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, we're doing Scottsboro trials and how you went to Kill a Mockingbird. Oh yeah, that's fine. Making this.
Okay, so our first slide is who are the Scottsboro Boys, or who were they rather? The Scottsboro Boys were 9 African-American teens ranging from, I think it was 12 to around 19 years of age, and they were falsely accused of raping 2 white American women on a train in 1931. They were sentenced, though they had different sentences, it ranged from death to life in prison. From 1931 to 1937, the case grew to an international trial. Over time, 4 defendants got released and 5 were given 20 years to life. And none of them are guilty.
Okay, so this is what made these trials so controversial, what made them so public. It was believed and definitely later proved that the 9 young men were tried unjustly, that they were all innocent. And all the cases dealt with racism and right to a fair trial. So they had equal chances, and this included lynch mobs before the trials, all white juries, which made the votes really unequal, bias, rush trials, and disruptive mobs.
What was the end result of the trials? Basically, all of them were convicted, but they were later appealed because they weren't tried right. And then some were later either not found guilty or just they escaped. Out of all of the 9 defendants, 4 of the charges were eventually dropped. These cases that weren't stopped ranged from 95 years, like Alario said, from life to prison.
Okay, so the setting is similar in a court case, also takes place in the book. The story was based on a true story as well. That's it.
The quiz question is, what year did the trials begin? A, 1935, B, 1937, C, 1931, and D, 1934.
Yeah, tricky. Hosanna, they just did you wrong.
It's
I can't believe they said they were doing it in
Did we ever put an answer? No, it's
The
C, by
answer
the
is-
way.
It's C, good.
See? Well, I thought they said they did the part I can't even see.
Yeah, they did the current in 1922, but the trials didn't start till 1931.
Well, this thing, I thought you said they did it in 1932, so some of them were like years back.
So this, I want to make a quick correction. Thank you guys, that was well done.
A quick correction, because To Kill a Mockingbird is not based on a true story. Okay, it's inspired by countless, ladies and gentlemen, inspired by countless trials just like Scottsboro Boys, where there is the word of a white person versus the word of a minority person, and in most cases an African American or Black person, and trials being comprised of juries of all white people, okay, because during the time when To Kill a Mockingbird is set, no other minorities were allowed on trials, or on juries rather, that it was hard to get a just verdict because of the misrepresentation in the jury. Okay, and particularly in very, very racially charged environments in the South and elsewhere. Harper Lee, growing up in Monroeville, Alabama, was really inspired by this, and so took this and kind of ran with her story. All right, so we'll finish up presentations. I think we've got 2 groups left to go on Monday, but we are a little bit behind. Okay, I would imagine, I will probably be assigning this essay, which I think is you're going to find really interesting and a very thoughtful read, for Monday night, but you don't need to read it yet. But I do want to really emphasize 60 minutes over the weekend, okay? And 9 Honors Kids, chapters 7 through 11 are going to be due next Tuesday, okay? You should have also seen that you can submit, okay? 9 Honors Kids, submit where you have left off from chapter 6 by this evening at 11:59, okay? And then once you submit, you can keep typing on the screen. I'll just be able to see your progress so far. Okay.
Should we start essays or over the weekend?
Nope, I'm gonna assign that on Monday, I'm sure, because I want to talk a little bit about it first. Okay, but my 6th and 7th period will be able to move on before that.
And then on Canvas, there's a way to submit your page 1.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So, you guys will be dismissed to a presentation, I guess, in the auditorium. Bye, everybody. Have a super weekend.
I wish
Oh, guys, here's a TCAM book. Oh, Nick is yours with it.
Friday, 2017, and yes, it's a great day to be a city high.
Is it really though?
Then you can get on the historic Oakland Auditorium. What is the dance meeting? This is just meeting. Everybody else will do announcements. Little Hawks.
It's just freshmen up here.
That's freshmen. Contact folks in the team if you have any questions. Attention gamers. The Wednesday you're waiting for is finally here. The Video Game Club of the Year is returning to City High next Wednesday. Welcome to the finest game in the state as we reconvene. Join us 4 or 5, 15.
I didn't know about this.
14, 13, and remember, City High Video Game Club. More games, more fun. The theme for tonight's football game is to change to the Yellow Hawk in honor of Casey Mearden. We hope to see a great student section cheer on the Hawks in their final football game of the year.
I'm sorry,
immediately after school.
Please
Please meet Ms. Wilker's office, 1705.
I'm a big gamer.
I have over 4 opportunities we have available coming up here And if you're going to get a copy of Michelle or Ms. Forman from the library.
Wait, don't we have advisory?
Library recognition. Report hours. If you are interested in those great materials, Michelle or Ms. Forman.
Keep all your
We
stuff.
also want to remind you, we have a makerspace available here at City High.
Hello.
Hi. Music mixing, if you're interested in this, it's right in the back of the library. Go
Bless
check it out sometime.
Heart and soul. Why?
It's not too late to join City High large group speech. Just Google Little Hawk Speech, click on the first link, and sign up for an audition. Or Siemens Brinkmeyer or large group speech is just outstanding. College visits next week, Buena Vista, Middlebury College, University of Central Missouri, and Macalester College, all here at City High next week. Check in the guidance office for information. Don't forget, after school, the high school tailgate tour is back outside on the front lawn. Stop by right after school today. It's the radio station and the National Guard and lots of free stuff. Hope you enjoy it. All right, Little Hawks, don't forget about that door decorating contest. Work with your advisory teacher, decorate those doors. We're gonna have a theme party for the winning class. The judging can have on Halloween. All right, Little Hawks, we got Iowa conference next week on Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday morning, all around the building for you freshmen through juniors. We've got signs posted to tell you where your classroom is, safety assessment. Seniors, you have the afternoon of Tuesday morning and Wednesday off. Remember, number two pencils, and you get records. Student Senate kicks off the annual campaign drive with powder puck volleyball. And we are looking for teams to come sign up on the counter in the main office. The entry fee is 5 cans per team. The time has come. All young women interested in Little Hawk basketball have an organizational meeting Monday, right after school, in Coach McTaggart's room on the second floor. Our quest for a title begins on Monday. All right, Little Hawks, remember UAY has the job shop here in the lunchroom on Tuesdays. You can stop by just outside the lunchroom and visit with those folks. Interact has blood drive next week. It's on Thursday. If you are 16 years old, you get a parental permission slip, and you can donate. 17 and older, you can do that on your own. Come sign up for blood drive in the office. Seniors, there's still time to get you into the University of Iowa Senior Visit Day, especially for City High, which happens on November 9th. See your guidance counselor for a permission. Don't forget, I'd love it if you nominated one of your teachers for the Staff Excellence Award. They will be given out once again for October, that last week of October. So get those in with an email to me with the reasons why your teacher deserves one. That's such a great thing to do. All right, Little Hawks, have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Represent City High out there, the School of Leaders.